what could not be happening and why you could not be also achieving those plans that you wanted to achieve. All in all, we are saying welcome aboard. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board from all the corners of the world where you chose to watch us from. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. For those of you watching us within West Nile, I'm really so much proud of you. And then not forgetting those in Acholi, Lango, Karamoja, not forgetting Central, Western Uganda, not Eastern Uganda in here. And that I want to say welcome aboard. For those of you watching us across borders in the neighboring South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo, we are also very much proud of you, and we are always there to keep you locked, informed, and also in the know of what's happening in the world of current affairs. We are there to also let you know of what is happening socially within your homesteads and also within your communities in there, because as West Nile Television, our #1 mandate remains, of course, to keep you informed. That is updated of all what is happening within the world, and that is where we also let you know of what's happening in the entertainment industry. We also cut across of what is happening in the political world, where we also really touch discussions in there. And just like that, on some days and on some occasions with the KOKOLIRIKO live show, what we do is we bring guests from wherever, maybe area that we chose to also really bring, and we also bring them to also come and talk to you and share their knowledge. And that is why sometimes on several occasions we bring guests to come and talk to you, and that is also to make sure that you have the knowledge, because to always start off your day from an informed point of view is the best. And really to ask to be asked a question where you also have answers to is always the very best kind of experience. Earlier on when I was coming to work, I went to one of the shops. Somebody was able to ask me a question to which I had an answer, and I was able to also really answer very well, because people do not expect to sometimes not know certain things. They expect you to be knowing everything. That is why you need to be informed at all times, and to be informed it calls for you to have actually look for knowledge. Usually I love my friends, the land fellows. Usually for them they say there's no place. Actually they say the best lawyer is the one who knows where to get the information from. There's no way as a citizen, as a person, you should be saying, I do not know. It feels quite embarrassing. All you can say is, let me consult, let me find out. That is, maybe that sounds better. And that is where we are choosing to start up our discussions with what's happening also really in the parts of the world. I really want to assure you that so many things continue to happen in the world. And recently we were hit, that was last week, by also really an explosion of a fuel tanker whose driver currently is being searched for, and the owner of the truck as well is being searched for. And the police actually say they will be asking this information from Uganda Revenue Authority to help detect who the owner of this vehicle is. But as per now, the information is not clear as far as who owns this vehicle is concerned. But now the death toll, according to information we are receiving from Uganda Police, has also really risen to 24, following that last week's incident where there was an explosion of a fuel tanker where the citizens had gone to siphon fuel after the driver of this vehicle lost control and veered off the road and overturned. That was at Chigogwa, which is also in Wakiso district. Now the death toll, according to police, has risen 24, and this is also something which we are seeing happening. That explosion that happened on a vehicle that was also heading from Kampala to Gulu, where it was involved in accident. But what message is this accident sending? Because it's not the very first time we are seeing an explosion of a fuel tanker. We have had several stories of all these incidents, maybe of this caliber. But why is that when fuel vehicles overturn, people tend to rush to siphon the fuel? And who are the really causes? And who is the cause of this accident is what we need to ask ourselves this morning. But I really want to show you that Uganda Police Force Director for Health Services, that is Assistant Inspector General of Police, that is Dr. Moses Byaruhanga, on Sunday say that also the latest report indicates that out of the 24 victims, at least 18 are males, where the 6 are females. It means that males are the ones who take a lot of risks. But now it remains unclear where the rest are currently and how they're doing, and the remains recovered from the scene. We are burnt beyond recognition, requesting for DNA testing to identify the victims. Fortunately, DNA also testing results matched all samples, with the victims solely allowing authorities to release the bodies to their families for burial in there. And really the message I really want to send to my people who could be watching me this morning is that when there's an accident, more so involving a car, not even fuel tanks alone, let's desist from tendencies of moving closer. Let's leave police to do their work. Let's leave security agencies to come and find out what to do in there, because if at all we could have run away, maybe if we are caught, if at all we couldn't have come closer to this vehicle. We never knew. Maybe we would have saved our lives, but we are saying it is really very dangerous. It's indeed a dangerous practice which we must always desist from, because if you look at the issues of these vehicles, then you realize that indeed there's really a lot more that we need to work towards, and there's really a lot more that we need to do as far as these accidents are concerned. Now, victims who died also at Sirudu Hospital were easily identified and handed over to their relatives for burial. Authorities coordinated also with Bomo Military Hospital to process the release of the victims' bodies. And police are still searching for the fuel tanker driver and the owner of this vehicle, who is still currently on the run. Now, State Minister for ICT and National Guidance, that is Godfrey Kabianga, urged the public to also provide information on the driver's whereabouts, and today preliminary information indicates that a charcoal stove at the scene was also identified as the cause of this fire in there, because if you look at the issue of fuel and the fire, and then you realize that it becomes really indeed a great challenge to also really undertake some of these issues, and that is where it becomes a very, very much terrific moment when we see such explosions happening. In most cases, we have seen people losing their lives, but all in all, we are saying people must be able to solely learn from such instances. We should be able to solely learn from the experiences of the past to also really protect ourselves in future. Because if you look at such instances of explosions of fuel tanks across East Africa, we have had several stories of such caliber, but we have seen them repeating themselves. It means we are not heeding to the advice of security personnel. It means we are not heeding the advice of the traffic police. So it is really high time that we as citizens desist from such practice, where if there's an accident involving a fuel tank, and then we run to see from fuel from, that is really indeed something which I must say is a great challenge. We must therefore learn from that. And we also have to desist from such practices, and that would also really be able to solely maybe spare our lives from danger. Leaving that aside, Uganda Wildlife Authority ranger kills 2 women in Kamwenge is another story that we are seeing. Why maybe could this happen? Now, police in Kamwenge district in western Uganda have also launched a manhunt that's for a game ranger attached to Uganda Wildlife Authority. That's already who is currently on run, who on Saturday 26th of October 24 shot dead 2 women in there. Now, there's an incident took place that is at also what we call at around 2 p.m. That is in the Kayonza 2 cell in Kayonza ward in Liankangu Town Council in Kamwenge. The suspect assailant, only identified as Naboth, is a Uganda Wildlife Authority game ranger. Also repeatedly went on shooting spree after also a confrontation with his girlfriend, who managed to escape in there. And today we are seeing now 2 innocent women dying, but the girlfriend escaped death. So what does this mean? It means that sometimes when such issues happen, it is the innocent that die. Now that he has committed the sin, how is he going to be also really maybe paying for the families? He has to compensate definitely. That also really calls for individual responsibility. Today, we are saying if at all an officer commits a crime, it is entirely onto that officer, not on the force. Because you have seen in most cases, Uganda police force was commonly also really pinned for this, for these such instances. And today we are now seeing also the UPDF also today still battling at the same time. So I think it's high time that we also really call for individual sentences. Individual responsibility also really is very much paramount, and that would at the end of the day help address some of these issues. Now he said that following the altercation, Naboth reportedly returned to the scene armed with a gun, and also after arriving at the bar where his girlfriend was last seen, he allegedly opened fire. And Mr. Chakabaire said the suspect also then continued to nearby home, where the 60-year-old woman also was resting on her veranda after her day's also work, and he allegedly fired 3 shots at her, and that is eventually what led to her death in there. Now, Rwenzori West Police spokesperson Rwenzori Police Vision to SJ said upon receiving the report, the officers from Kungutong Police Post responded by also going to the crime scene with the homicide team led by Detective also Sergeant Akisuli Robert and Soko scene of crime officers to also address on the matter, and that is how they also went to the scene to see what is happening. And now the suspect is still at large, and he is believed to be armed with the weapon used in the crime, saying police have already launched a manhunt also to identify where he is, urging the public to also find out where he could be hiding. This goes to us in the villages. He could be in our villages hiding. Let's inform the police, because he has already committed the crime of girlfriends. And that is why we always say police officers and those people in the forces should be able to sort of not take issues of relationships very much serious. Because it's not the very first time. Last month we were talking about the same scenario where a UPDF officer also really went on a shooting spree to also really kill people after he was involved, after he got his girlfriend involved also in a relationship with his friend. And that is exactly what we did see happening in there, where he also really responded by killing people in there. But how do we address such issues, and how ready are we to deal with such scenarios as we get move on really with our lives? Because you find out and you really feel there's something that couldn't have been done. Indeed, it is something which we must all desist from, and that would also at the end of the day tell us how these officers are to be trained. And if at all their relationships, how can they handle their relationship is also what matters. And they feel the responsible officers, the entities that are responsible, must also go back and check on the relationship of how the officers are doing. And this is also to enable them or not also really do such activities, because we have seen on such scenarios where officers go on rampage, go on shooting spree, and also end the lives of innocent people, because in most cases it is even the innocent that die. We have seen this happening. And last year we also had a same scenario at Zambia. It means it's not also happening. It is happening within all the forces. And that also tells us that we must also really be able to now find situations, and therefore also really make sure that people do not also really enter in such issues also in there. That would also at the end of the day help address some of these activities, and that would also really enable such people also really end their also really grievances in there. Because if you have these disagreements, is it enough for you to end the lives of these spouses? It is really something which I must say is alarming. And we must therefore also really find out answers and find solutions to it when it is still time in here. Leaving that discussion aside, ex-LRI Commander Coelho to appeal 40-year sentence, because the reason we did see him being sentenced to the 40 years. And now Thomas Coelho, if the former Lord Resistance Army Commander, has asked his lawyers to file an appeal against the 40-year sentence. He was also handed over on Friday, and this is also where we did see the International Crimes Division of the High Court doing that in there. Now the man also is appealing to his lawyers to also file an appeal to challenge the 40 years also sentence in there. Now in the interview, Mr. Evans Ocheng, one of Coelho's lawyers, also said that the client was satisfied with the ruling, and therefore they will be also doing what it takes to also appeal this also sentence in there. Because if you look at Coelho, together with his boss, that is the LRA leader Joseph Kony, who is currently being tried in his absentia, that's at the ICC in there, you'll find out that many people also really went through in the hands of these people in there. First of all, when it comes to the atrocities they committed during the 20-year insurgency in northern Uganda, that is where we did see many people losing their lives. Today, many people are mouthless. Others have no ears, simply because a lot was done during that time. But Coelho also really, we do understand that also really insist that he was also really brought into this group when he was still a child. He was actually abducted on his way from school, and today he actually rose to be one of the commanders, and that is where today he is being tried in there. But ICC also really is going to be trying him for that. And we feel also really, yes, he handled himself privately, and that is one thing we did see him also really voluntarily doing. But the bosses, that is Joseph Kony today, up to date, has not also really handed himself also really, that is to the security agencies in here. But we are still following up on, and to make sure also really that we also really find out what also really could have happened, and maybe what could have led them to committing some of these atrocities that led to many people losing their lives in the northern part of this country, where others were forced into exile. And many businesses also collapsed as a result of this insurgency in northern Uganda, where the traders also really, their items were actually impounded and were captured by these LRA victims. And today when you talk about the traders, mostly when it comes to the group, what we call West Nile War, Kony War victims, you find out that many of them up to date are calling for compensation, where they are demanding up 99 billion, where the 1,000 plus people are not being also compensated, but today you find out that they are still engaged in security to make sure that government also really clears them in there. Recently, I didn't see them also really in a meeting, and that meeting also really, I think, with security is aiming to also really still pursue and see to that police and also government compensates them for the losses that they incurred, and that is where, according to the group, they were actually cleared for compensation, but up to date, nothing is done. Nothing has also happened to them, and that is where they feel, indeed, they are being also left out, because in some areas, people already have been compensated, but in Western sub-region, for them, they feel they haven't been also really treated very well. So what we do, maybe we ask to government also to make sure these people get the kind of money that they are indeed they're demanding in there, because many of them claim they have been rendered jobless, they have been rendered poor because of the insurgency in northern Uganda that also could not enable them also really thrive, maybe their businesses to thrive. And that is one area which I feel is really, really wrong, and at the end of the day, that is very, very much bad. Now that's where we're going to be leaving the discussion aside. Mukoro land staff arrested over losing clients' file is another story we're seeing. Wet Lands Minister Judith Nawakobo on Friday ordered the arrest of staff member, that is of the ministry Zodo office, after it was reported that she lost a client's title, and Ms. Hanifa Nantongo, a customer care officer, was detained at Mukono Central Police Station over neglect of duty, and the title that belonged to Mr. Patrick Peter Kirunda was reportedly handed to Ms. Nantongo on April 3rd of 2023 to remove a mortgage in there, but the file also went missing. Now the minister noted that also all lands filed across the country should act as places of safety to enable what we call all clients to keep their records without any alterations. And at the end of the day, that's what we did see happening in there. But after handing over his original title to the officer, Mr. Chirunda was given 21 days to return for his issue to be resolved, but demanded also the title for the past year in vain. It means the title could have gone missing. Now they said, the minister said on her dismay, the accused person could not give a convincing explanation for the accusations. And in addition, the minister also directed Ms. Nantongo to foot all expenses of getting a special title for the complainant in there. Now, Ms. Nawakowa said her portal has already shown the potential to reduce land conflicts, since all land transactions are being tracked in the comfort of your home and office. It means there is no need for you to also remove some of these offices to track whether you could have also maybe done this or that on your land, or maybe somebody could have transacted also your land illegally in there, because today many people are indeed going through a lot. That is why we always encourage them to also file their lands and do what we call surveying and also land titling for these lands in there. And that's where we do find it very much really unfortunate that today many people's lands are being sold without their notice in there, and that is where at the end of the day we see them also really suffering, and that is where we also really feel we need to also learn from that. Now the Mukono Principal Lands Administrative Secretary Dorin Tushabe shared with also the new invention that they can make up 2,409 land titles in 3 days before the portal in there. Mr. Tushabe told Minister that they were having trouble in verifying documents, such as also the lands also in there, but today they are doing what it is also the text to also make sure they also do this despite the different challenges that they go through. For instance, court orders and letters of administration, which are most times also very much difficult process in there, but now they can actually process over 2,000 land titles in 3 days in there, and that is the beauty of also what we call ICT. So if you don't have also your land title and surveyed, it's high time you also embrace it, because many people may have the advantage solely of it by also selling it, and they will leave you with nothing, but also battling for court challenges. And that is where at the end of the day you will be wasting a lot of money, first of all, in paying lawyers, and also a lot of time when it comes to also moving to courts of law in there. But all in all, you can't be simply avoiding that by simply surveying your land and titling it to make sure that it has all the requirements solely for it to solely be titled in there. And that is why we're going to be leaving the discussion aside and still heading on with the discussions. And we are seeing among electors, Vice Chairperson, African Speakers Assembly, amid calls for unity in there. And that's where that's why we are seeing our flag of Uganda is being raised high. After the Speaker of this Parliament, that is right, Honorable Anita Among, has been unanimously voted as Vice Chairperson of the Forum of African Speakers. and the president of the legislators in India. Now, the election took place during the second General Assembly, that is of the Conference of Speakers and Presidents of African Legislators, held in Accra, which is in Ghana, and where leaders also called for unity and regional cooperation. I want to say this, we are proud. We must therefore also congratulate her upon this position, because it is not only the position which we must also take for granted, because being voted for that, it really speaks volumes that also their abilities are being also trusted. It means that Uganda is indeed being trusted. Another election took place also during the second General Assembly, that is in Accra, and the high-level meeting hosted by the Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, Mr. Sumana Kingsford Bangbin, brought together parliamentary leaders from across the continent to also really have deliberation and discussions focused on finding sustainable solutions to Africa's shared challenges, including poverty, among other employment, political instability, climate change, which are also really a lot of where a lot of concern is needed, with emphasis on better resource management and governance in India. Now, addressing delegates also really at the closing day of the assembly, Speaker Amang did also say that addressing African challenges require united efforts and shared solutions, because what is happening to an African state, maybe in Kenya, definitely will have an implication onto what is happening in South Sudan. What is happening in DRC definitely has that direct or indirect connection to what's happening in Uganda. That is where we must therefore address these issues jointly, because if we're told we're not doing it jointly, then it's going to be a quite huge task for us at the end of the day to also make sure that all this happens. So I think it's quite important, and therefore I want to say let's join hands as Africans, and really I love what usually we must be advocating for. Pan-Africanism above all is what we must always be advocating for, because if at all you have the spirit of Pan-Africanism, then there's no way you're going to be looking at a South Sudanese as a foreigner. Then there's no way a South Sudanese is going to be looking at Uganda, a Ugandan as a foreigner. We are going to be living together. There's no way Rwandi and a Rwandan national is going to be looking at a Ugandan as a foreigner. There's no way a Rwandan is going to be looked at by a Kenyan as a foreigner. These cross-border conflicts we're having will not be there. For instance, what we're seeing between DRC and Rwanda will not be there. So I think at the end of the day, we are going to be living in a peaceful country where there are going to be no accusations between one state and the other. And at the end of the day, we shall be seeing Africa growing. And I really want to say I'm one of the advocates for United States of Africa, where we will be having one state. That will be quite interesting, and that is where at the end of the day we will be seeing our countries developing, and we will be seeing joint developments, and not only seeing country A developing much better than also the country B. Today we have countries in Africa that are divided. There are countries that are highly doing well, while others are still in the tail swindling, are still dancing. So I think that is where at the end of the day, if at all we do not advocate for all this, it will be a great challenge also for us to be advocating India. And that is why we did see also really this happening, but we hope at the end of the day that this will be addressed. And now Speaker amongst election to the forum's leadership presents Uganda's growing influence in regional parliamentary diplomacy, reinforcing the call for unity and collaborative also solutions to drive sustainable development across the region. And that is one area which we feel is quite important. And I want to say we are proud of her. Therefore, we must also congratulate her for being elected to that position, which is of high responsibility in there. And at the end of the day, we take the pride. And that's why we're going to be taking a short commercial break. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show with me, Farish Majid, on West Nile TV channel 477, the Monday edition. And today happens to be the 28th day into the month of October. We're just counting down 2 days to wind up with this month, and thereafter we shall be entering into another brand new month. But these are the months also that are towards the evening of this year. That means we are coming closer to the year. But the question is, what are you doing, and how is the year ending on your side? What are some of the strategies that already maybe you are working towards to see that you achieve your dreams that you laid at the beginning of the year? I want to say, if at all you are moving towards that, you need not to give up. Have God first. That would also at the end of the day enable you achieve those dreams in there. And with that, we are taking a short commercial break. When we bounce back, we still have lots of stories to give you. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium, Channel 259 and Channel 246. Starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and limited passion.